Welcome to an exciting class in this video tutorial, this free preview tutorial on udemy.com, and some of you might be watching this on YouTube as well, so welcome to both of you. My objective, or all of you I should say, I'm sure there's more than 2 people watching this. My objective is to get you to think the way the software thinks, whether that's Illustrator, Photoshop, and of course Dreamweaver. So pay close attention to this exercise. This is a time-tested, simple. This is so simple that I can basically take somebody off the street, and the only prerequisite is if they can click their mouse and listen to my voice or read English. So I'm going to share with you how to take this simple web page and turn it into a linkable web page with an external style sheet, one step at a time, and it's really this simple. So if you're watching this on Udemy, one of the benefits of watching this, of course, on Udemy is you can take notes up here to the top right. You can also download the file to your local computer, which by default you can't do that on YouTube. That's another reason you want to sign up for Udemy. Even if it's a free account, I'm glad that you're here. So what I want to share with you is that this particular file is just a version file, meaning that it's version. Anytime I put a V in it, that means 2 things. A, it's a version 1, version 2, plus a little production technique and money-making technique. That tells you that the client still owes a balance for the site. So it's not the final version, it's the version. So we're going to do a couple of things here in this particular video. We're going to basically make this the final page. We're then going to have all the links set up properly. Then we're going to move the internal CSS to an external CSS, and then we're going to publish the additional files. And I'm going to show you how to do this simply. It's so simple, it's child's play. If you listen to my exact technique, I can assure you you've not seen this technique before. So again, if you're watching this on Udemy, write some notes to yourself. So this is a time-tested 3-step process and how I turn my version page with local CSS. What do I mean by that? Well, if I go to the window menu for a second, styles. Now, I'm working in classic mode. If you're not in classic mode, go to classic mode. It'll make the whole thing that much more enjoyable. So these styles are inside my document. Now, I just want to do a little 2-minute PSA speech on that. There's a lot of video tutorials and books, actually, that tell you right from the beginning, I'm going to make a brand new page and immediately tie it to an external style sheet. Bad technique. That instructor should be slapped in the head twice with a large polo mat, because I wanted to share something with you. It's not just my opinion, it's technique. How can you possibly have different versions of your site? So as an example, if you're tied to an external style sheet and I want to make this blue, maybe they don't want to show the customer or the client, maybe this is a little thinner, a little thicker, etc., etc. How can you have different versions of your site if it's tied to the same external style sheet? The answer is you can't, because the words same and different don't coexist. So that's an oxymoron. You can't do that. Now, of course, you can make backup styles, style sheet 1, style sheet 2. Well, why do you want to do that? When you're building a site from scratch, the first thing the client has to do is what? They have to okay this layout and this design. So there's absolutely zero, zip, not a nil, to have a single page design comp with an external style sheet. It's a total waste of time, plus it's a foolish move, because then you can't have version 1, version 2, version 3. Why? Because it's tied to the same external style sheet. So all these, and I will call them clowns. With absolute grace, I will call them clowns. Any clown out there that tells you to make a new document and tie it to an external style sheet doesn't understand real practical, real world web development. And that's why you're here, for me to teach that to you. Okay? So your style sheets by default until you start making your additional files. Yes, once I start making the about, the products, then I want to tie it to an external style sheet, because I don't want to have 5 body tags for every single page, etc., etc. But again, it comes down to technique, which comes down to experience. So again, all those Yahoo bozo clowns out there teaching you to do an external style sheet with a version page, your first comp, your second, then that's just bad information. Okay, enough of that. So, just kidding. I had to get that off my chest, because I see it happen all the time, and it's just bad technique. The same thing you've seen a lot of videos, and this is untitled. Again, bad technique. First thing you do after you save the file is title the page up here. This is what gets titled inside of a search engine. So again, and I apologize about the tangent there, but I'm really here to help you learn the correct way. Time is money, guys. You can make all the money you want, but you can't replace time. So I think if you're going to be taught well, be taught correctly. So this is a 3-step process, and again, follow these exact steps, you'll stay out of trouble. This is a 3-step process to turn the comp version page into the final page that I can now publish and link to my additional pages. Now, keep something in mind here. This is going to be a total 5-page site. The home page plus the 4 additional pages. I'm not going to spend any time making the other sites look different, the other pages rather. I'm going to keep the content the same. Now, obviously, the About page will have different content, which means you could have different rule structure, but we're not going to go into that. That's part of my full courses. This is a little teaser course on A, how I teach, B, how I get you involved in the thinking process, which is very important, and C, learning it the right way. So again, 3-step process. Step 1, you want to take your file and go to Save As, and that becomes your home page, meaning that is now the index page. It's no longer the index 2, index 3, it's the physical index final page. Now, it's okay that it's inside this comp version 1 folder, by the way, because we haven't gotten live yet, because famous last words. Yes, the client likes the design, they like the fonts and everything else, but guess what? There's always going to be tweaks. So we're not going totally live yet, but we're making the final live pages. So step 1 is to save the page as an index page. Now, don't be so clever to go to your desktop and change the file name of this page, because you always want this version page to go back to in the event that your client blows a brain chip at 2 o'clock in the morning and wants to make changes. So again, that is step 1. Now, again, I go into great detail in my real-life course on how we got to this point to begin with. So by default, a comp version page should have hyperlinks, yes, but these are simply going to pound symbols, which means these are now distinguished as a hyperlink. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I double-click this word right now and I put in the pound symbol, it's going to be distinguished as a hyperlink, but it's not going to give me a page error because it's not really looking for a page. So that's called a placeholder. So in your version pages, very important step here, you want to put in the pound symbol. And I'm not just picking the pound symbol. If you literally put anything but the pound symbol in there, it's going to look for a page for that name. So if you're going to outsmart yourself and say, well, maybe I'll put the @ symbol, or maybe I'll put the asterisk symbol, or maybe I'll put the ands, well, it's going to look for a page with that name. But built into the browser in HTML, if you put in the pound symbol, that becomes a placeholder and it behaves as a hyperlink. Incidentally, that works the same on images. I can make this image clickable by putting in the pound symbol. Okay, so I just want to share that with you. So right now, by default, every hyperlink in here, we're not going to be concerned about these we just created, but these should be going to real live pages at this point. Now, to addendum that statement, these pages, of course, don't have to be created yet. That's what we're going to do later on in this exact video. We're going to create those pages. I'm going to show you the simplest. Once you see this, if you haven't seen this before, you're going to think this is the greatest thing since sliced salami. If you're vegetarian, sliced bread. So step 1 was what? Step 1 was to save this as the index page. Step 2 is that these need to become real-life hyperlinks to real-life pages. Now, here's what I want to share with you. Okay. Inside of Dreamweaver, if you go to View Toolbars, there's something called Style Rendering. If that's not on your computer, you want to turn it on in your software. What that enables you to do is go to the top menu here, right there, and I can basically click. Now, important step. Notice that these hyperlinks were typed in lowercase. Hyperlinks by default should be lowercase, because what I'm going to do, since I'm a lazy guy, eventually I'm going to copy and paste these for the names of the pages. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. This is going to be about HTML, products.html, etc., etc. But if you leave this, if you were to physically type this in this way, then you have to untype it to make the link. So what I'm sharing with you is if you want things to be capitalized or initial cap, do that in your CSS. Now, of course, that's out of the scope of this particular video. That's what my full course does, which I highly suggest you sign up for. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Now, since I'm a lazy guy, what I want to do is a simple search and replace first. Search and replace. I want to search for this pound symbol and replace it with .html. Now, find and replace, search and replace, the same thing, but it's as old as the hills. It's Microsoft Word. It's WordPerfect from back in 1975. So a simple way to do this is I'm going to pre-select one of the tags here, and I'm just going to go to my code. Now, for those of you that are getting like wigged out right now, we're looking at code, here's what I want to do. I just want to select and replace this text chain with that word. I want to replace that with .html. Now, some of you might be saying, well, why don't you just select that? Well, if I just select that, that could interfere with my div tag IDs, which I don't want to do. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, sign up for my course. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm just going to select this unique chain right here, and I'm going to copy that. So therefore, I can just Command F find, Control F find for Windows, and it automatically selects source code. So I'm going to find that exact chain, I'm going to paste it down here, and I'm just going to type right there, .html. Now, you'll understand why I'm doing this in just a second, but again, I'm a lazy guy. I don't like to reinvent the wheel, and quite frankly, I don't want to have to type .html, especially if I had a 50-page site. So now, based on these choices, I'm simply going to say replace all. And I don't need this any longer, so I'm just going to close this window. And it went and did that. It replaced the pound symbol with .html. So I'm going to go back to my design mode, make a change, save a change. So therefore, every page is now going to .html. Well, we're not done yet. This is still step 2. This is all part of step 2. Okay, so I'm going to double-click the word, copy, Command-C. Now, if you guys don't understand how to copy and paste, perhaps you should take a basic course on copying and pasting. Command-C, Command-V, Windows, Control-C, Control-V. So I'm just going to copy right here and paste. Now, if it's easier for you, the other thing we could do is this. This way we can do it all in one shot in a visual way. If you go to your code for a second, we can just do that right from here. Watch. Copy, put the cursor right there, paste. Just make sure there's not an extra space there. Copy, put the cursor right there, and paste. Now, if you feel more comfortable doing that inside the window dialog box, if you're kind of code phobic, that's fine. I understand that. I don't blame you. But either way, copy and paste. So that is basically step 2. Okay? So now all the hyperlinks, and again, I'm not going to be concerned with these guys. All the hyperlinks are going to real life page names. Now again, these pages are not created yet. We're going to do that. So again, step 1, save it as an index page. Step 2, basically create your page names, not the pages yet, but the page names that is going to go there. Step 3, and probably one of the most important steps, is now and only now, the client is okay to design, they like the width, the height, the typeface, everything else about this page they like. So we're now, based on these choices, in order to affect the rules, we need to select the rules. I'm going to select from here down to here. Now, technically, you should be able to just select the style palette, but sometimes it doesn't work inside of Dreamweaver, depending on your version. So what I'm going to do here, in order to affect, you need to select. Rule number 1, to any software program, all software thinks the same way, basically. Create, select, edit. Create, select, edit. Something has to be created in order for you to select it, and then what do you want to do to it? Okay, so in order to affect something, you need to select something. So you want to affect these internal rules. Now, a couple ways we can do this. All Adobe products have a top right hidden menu. So it doesn't matter what the software is. It could be Photoshop or Illustrator, the same thing. All palettes in Adobe have a top right hidden menu. One of the things up here is called Move CSS Rules. Now we can do that one of 2 ways. You can control-click Macintosh or right-click Windows and get the same window. But to make it less confusing, we're just going to go right here. Move CSS Rules. Now we're going to get a dialog box. How do I know that? Because it's a ... Anytime you see a ... in any software program, in any menu, what does ... mean to you? It means coming soon, more information. So based on these choices, I want to share with you a very unfortunate story. In my private one-on-one or my group classes for corporations, I will sometimes stay in this dialog box for as long as it takes for that person to get the clutter, get the cobwebs out of their head to answer the question correctly. And I don't ask trick questions. I want to involve you in the thinking process. So I've had students actually sit and go, well, I don't know the program, I'm new to this and I don't understand. I want to go home and I want my mommy. Okay, I'm not here to trick you. You want to get in the habit of understanding something. Not just seeing, but looking at your choices. As an example, this is a choice, this is a choice, this is a choice, this is a choice. So based on these choices, and again, I do this for my private one-on-one classes and my group classes. And sometimes it takes 10 minutes for them to go, oh, I feel like such an idiot. Based on these choices, I want to make exact words, not here to trick you, a new style sheet. I want to make a new style sheet. So you'd be absolutely amazed, and it just shows you how people are so preoccupied. They think it's a trick question. They think alligators are going to come out and bite them in the butt. How do you make a new style sheet? First of all, what's the name of this dialog box? Move to external style sheet. So based on these choices, well, do I hit browse? No, a new style sheet. It's that simple because it comes down to choice. So don't let the software control you. You're the intelligent carbon-based being. You should control the software. The software should not be controlling you. Now, if this was in Portuguese, no disrespect to people that speak Portuguese, I wish I did. I know oi, tudo bem, or Mandarin, I know ni hao. Well, this is in English. So as long as you can speak English, then there should be no problem with this. New style sheet. And based on these choices, of course, I hit OK. Then Dreamweaver, in its divine wisdom, is going to say, hey, where do you want to save it? Where do you want to put it? Well, just like images should go inside the images folder, based on these choices, we're going to put the CSS inside of a CSS folder. Again, lowercase, no space. If you have to use space, put it in the hyphens. Now, this has just become semantic. Some people like to put in a folder called styles, etc., etc. Totally your call. I'm going to create this folder. Then, what are we going to call the file? Well, this is not an HTML file. It's not a PHP file. It's a CSS file. In fact, it's our main.css file, because as I share with you in subsequent videos, in my real life, I shouldn't say real life, in my full A to Z courses, I share with you that you can have multiple style sheets in your document. So if you look at the IBM site as an example, they probably have about 20 different external style sheets, the more complex the site is. So based on these choices, we're simply going to save this file inside of this folder, which of course is inside of our comp folder, which is in our root folder. And I'm going to save that. So what does Dreamweaver do? Did the page change? No. Does the page look different? No. It's still tied to the same style sheets. But this is now a physically 100% separate, outside dependent file. Now Dreamweaver did all the work for us. Now if you go to your code for a second, you'll actually see not only did Dreamweaver make that file, but it also linked it to this file. So this becomes an externally linked outside file. Now, again, if you're new to Dreamweaver, what you need to pay attention to is I have two files here. I have the source and I have the main CSS. The asterisk denotes that this file has not been saved. So one of the things I can do in Dreamweaver is I can simply, anything about the file is under the file menu. So I can go to File and say Save All. Pretty cool. Okay, so this is now an external file. This is now considered a dependent file. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to intentionally make a mistake. So I already set my FTP in my previous video on this free section of Udemy. I'm going to go to the File menu, and based on these choices, Preview in Browser and Firefox. And I'm just picking Firefox just because I can. Okay, testing server, yes. Now I'm going to intentionally make a mistake, and here I'm going to say dependent files. Well, I don't know what that's about, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to say no. Well, the problem with hitting no is the CSS is a dependent file. So now you're going to be pleasantly surprised that now you have a file up on the web, which is right there where it should be for the client to look at, but they're going to think you're a total knucklehead that, where's my CSS? Well, because you, the intelligent person, didn't say dependent files yes. Now, here's another thing I want to share with you. I already have a browser window. The only thing I don't have is a CSS file. So what I can do is simply upload this file, and when it's asked me upload, Command-Shift-U, Macintosh, Control-Shift-U for Windows, it's going to say, do you want to include dependent files? Well, of course, I would say yes. Now, before we do that, I just want to share with you, if you make any further future changes to your dependent file, regardless of what that dependent file was, it could have been a graphic, it could have been a QuickTime movie. If you make changes locally, those new changes must be put on the server. Otherwise, you're not going to see the new changes. So we're going to say dependent files, yes. Now, part of the reason I didn't go back to publish in browser window, because quite frankly, I don't want to have a gazillion files there. In addition to that, these graphics need to be up there as well. Now, those graphics were already up there, to be fair. So now all I need to do is go back to my browser window. So here I am back in my browser window, and I simply need to refresh the browser. So again, if you continually go back, it's going to publish a browser window, publish a browser window. Next thing you know, you got a gazillion browser windows up here. So simply refresh that window, and there is my page with my CSS styles. Very cool. So now it's time to make these additional pages. Now, if you want to call this step 4, that's fine, but it's basically a 3-step process that got us here. So this next step is so incredibly simple. If you pay attention to exactly how I do this, if you cut corners, it's not going to work. Okay, so what's the name of the page it's looking for? Well, according to this down here, it's looking for the About page. Now, if I click that, of course, the About page doesn't exist. How could it exist? Because we haven't created it yet. What are we going to call that page? Well, duh, it's right here. That's what we're going to call the page right there. Now, since I'm a lazy guy, I'm just going to copy and paste, Command C. Now, what I do want to share with you is this. On Macintosh, you can Command Tab back to the last application you used. Windows, depending on the operating system, that should work by hitting Control Tab. But again, there's all kinds of different versions on Windows, so I can't go into that. But Control Tab on Windows should work. If not, you have my sympathies that you should be using Macintosh. So Command Tab will tab back to, just simply hold on the Command key, touch the Tab key. How cool is that? On a laptop especially. Okay? So I copy that word, and I'm going to Command Tab goes right back into Dreamweaver, which is the last application. So Command Tab on Mac OS toggles between whatever two last application you should be picked. So if you're going to toggle between, say, Illustrator and InDesign, Command Tab. If you're going to toggle between, say, After Effects and Illustrator, Command Tab. It's genius. It works. It's built into the operating system. So now what we need to do, very, very simple, okay, is go to the File menu. First of all, I just want to make sure that this, I think when I pause the video here. So I just go to the File menu and go to Save As. And what am I going to call this page? Well, the reason I copied so I can paste. How genius is that? No typos, no extra spaces, no problems, no broken links. Now, what I should do from here is due diligence and also title the page correctly. Now, what I would typically do is put in the name of your site, something like brubble.com, because that is the name of the site. And I would put, again, personal preference, I do the pipe symbol, but this is totally up to you. This is search engine purpose. This is for search engine purposes. Anything you put up here will come up in a search engine. And I'm just going to put in about, because it's basically the about page in the title of the page. So if somebody bookmarks this, guys and gals, it will now be bookmark friendly because now it has a descriptive information. Now, if you want to put more information about the page, I highly suggest you do that. Now, in addition to that, because about is still copied to my clipboard, I'm going to double click right here, and that's the about page. Make a change, save a change. So now, again, important step. I don't need to publish this inside of a browser window, but I do need to upload this to the server. So Command-Shift-U. Command-Shift-U uploads to the server. Dependent files, we don't have any dependent files, so I simply hit no. Well, we do have dependent files, but they're already up in the server. Now the next step again is child's play. Command-Tab goes right back to my browser. Okay, so therefore, if I refresh my screen, and if I want to be really lazy, Control-R for Windows, Command-R for Macintosh. And bingo, bango, boingo, that's a technical word, by the way, guys. You might want to write that down, and if you're on Udemy, take a note on that over here to the right. That's bingo, bango, boingo. And some people like to hyphenate in between the bingo and the bing. Anyway, I'm having fun with you. Now, how do I click the other page? Well, simple, simple, simple. I click Products. Products doesn't exist. Aha. Double click, copy, Command Tab, Command Shift S. Now, one shortcut you definitely know, and this works in all software programs in Adobe. In fact, it works in Microsoft Word. Command Shift S is always save as. Command Shift S, Windows Control Shift S. So I'm going to continue to use shortcuts keys. Command Shift S and paste. Now, before I do that, but here's what I want to share with you. Notice I don't have a home button. And I absolutely loathe and hate home buttons. I think it's very circa 1995, back in the day. I don't build sites, and I've actually got into arguments about customers. Why do you want to have a button that says home? Now, if you do want to go back home, what I would do is make my header or the logo or the graphic in the branding section go back home. Now, I'm not going to do that for the index page. I'm going to do that for the about page and the subsequent pages. So based on these choices, I'm just going to click right here and navigate my way to the index page. Now, if you don't want that formatting, because that's my default formatting for that, then you would have to make a new rule for that in your CSS. And of course, I go into that in great detail in my full videos on Udemy, which hopefully you guys will sign up for. So again, I'm going to just upload the page. I'm just uploading the new changes to that page. Okay, so we copied the word product. So now I can just go to File, Save As, and paste and return. Double click up here and paste. Now, everything I do has a reason, has a method to the madness. Why do I double click up here first before I double click down here and paste? Well, the answer is very simple. The program does not let you save the file if your cursor's up here. Your cursor has to be not there. So I don't want to go here to go there just to come back here to save the file. See, everything I do, guys, has a reason, a method to the madness. So now I can just upload the file, Command-Shift-U, Command-Shift-U, or Control-Shift-U. So now Command-Tab, which brings me back to my browser window, Command-R, or of course I can just refresh, or Control-R for Windows, and there's my products page. Simple, simple, simple. So within seconds, now granted I'm explaining this to you, but you can have a 5, 10, 20 page site, very simple. Now again, it's a simple 5-page site, so yes, the content's going to be different, but the pages are now created. And of course with external CSS, if I want to, I could basically ID things differently. It'd have 2 columns versus 3 columns, etc., etc., etc. Now we're going to click Service, double click, copy, go back to Dreamweaver, save as, paste, and I just use shortcuts for that. All shortcuts. If you get to know the shortcuts, you're way ahead of the game. Time is money, guys. If you're futzing around with the mouse every 10 seconds in your menus, you're not thinking about the software. You're letting the software work for you. So I'm going to paste right there. I'm going to paste right there. Make a change, save a change, Command-Shift-U, or of course I can upload, put Command-Shift-U, Macintosh, Control-Shift-U for Windows. Once it's on the file, I Command-Tab and refresh the page. So there's my service page. The final page we'll do is the contact page. Double click, copy, Command-Tab, Command-Shift-S, again, file, anything about a file is under the file menu, and save as, and paste. And again, we want to identify that page. So double click up here, so it's the contact page. Double click here, it's now the contact page. So I can actually see that it's the contact page. So Command-Shift-U uploads the page, Control-Shift-U for Windows. So this is like, you know, the Lucy episode with the cake coming down the conveyor belt, putting on the cherry, putting on the cherry, putting on the cherry. It's the same thing again and again. Okay, so here's how it works. If you can make one CSS rule, you can make 50. If you get one web page, if you can link one web page, you can link a gazillion. Now, to addendum that statement, I really haven't tested the gazillion theory yet, but in theory, you should be able to make a gazillion pages. Now, for any of you out there who have actually made a gazillion pages, I'd like to hear from you because I'd like to see that site. And I'd like to see that file size. So watch this. This now now links back to my home page. Pretty cool. And if I click About, there's the About page, properly titled up here for search engine purposes, and identified as the About page, and the service page, and the contact page. So now I can start moving at my furniture. So that's how simple it was to basically use my time-tested 3-step process. Now I did it 1 step at a time. We're talking almost a 30-minute video here, but I'm sharing with you because I enjoy what I do and I really want you guys to work intelligently and smart because time is money. Now I teach and I'll be very candid with you. Why do I teach? First of all, I love teaching. People go, oh, that's nice. Yeah, you love teaching. This is not nice. First of all, I make a lot of money doing it, and that's great, but also it helps keep my skill set sharp, which is also great. But here's another reason to teach, okay, which I enjoy teaching, is when you turn something on, when you turn somebody on to such a great technique that they can turn around and make money, I cannot tell you, and sometimes it brings me to tears. I've had students that, you know, this is going back 5, 10, even 20 years ago. I've gotten thank yous, absolute thank yous from students to say, hey, the most I ever made in my life was $19,000 waiting tables, or I basically work in a factory, or I do this, or I do that. Now, I'm not telling you, if you enjoy what you do, no matter what that is, my hat's off to you. But if you want to basically make more money, work smarter, or actually substitute or supplement your income, what do I mean by that? Well, I've had actual thoracic surgeons and heart doctors and attorneys and PhD people come to me for training for web design, for package design, for desktop publishing. Why? Well, is the heart surgeon, is the thoracic surgeon, are they going to give up their career? No. But here's the deal. That's a very technical field. So if they want to create a website or a promotion or a brochure for their upcoming lecture, they have a couple of choices. They can sit with a graphic designer and explain the artery and the vena cava and the left ventricle and how the blood goes down at one color, comes up another, or they can just have all that knowledge and do it themselves. So having web skills, having desktop publishing skills, the ability to create a brochure, a business card yourself is money in the bank, because now you don't have to pay somebody else to do it. Plus, here's the catch, here's the real caveat, is it's a lot of fun and you can make yourself a lot of money. So I don't care what you do for a living, you'll always benefit from these skills that I teach using Adobe software. My name's Robert Farrell. I really appreciate you being here. I'm here to help you every step of the way. So this is nothing more than on-the-job training. You hired an expert to show you how to do this the right way. Now again, I'm going to be very candid about something. I have a large client base of private one-on-one students here in New York City. New York City is a very expensive city, and I have people that have no problem sitting down with me for an hour and a half and paying me anywhere between 175 to 250, depending on the software. After Effects stuff, I can charge $350, $450 an hour for one-on-one training and then group training. So rather than do that, spend all that money, and that's still worth every bit of it to spend an hour and a half one-on-one with me. But here you're getting all the benefits of my teachings in a relaxed, on-demand video environment that Udemy provides for you, that you can basically go back to again and again and again, because all my videos on Udemy are upgradable, unlike some of the other videos on Udemy that are not, which means I'm continually for one fee. You pay one fee for a course, and you get free upgrades for that course for the life of the software. Okay, so I'm here to help you every step of the way. Thank you very much for visiting udemy.com. Thank you very much for being here on my Udemy channel, udemy.com/think, learn, earn. If you want to explore the other courses I do, I'll have links to that on this page. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Take nothing for granted. And guess what? There's no such thing as a stupid question. Okay. In fact, as I found out when I was in 4th and 5th grade, I really thought the pain in the butt people were the people that asked questions. It took me to high school, college to realize those were the smart people. The smart people ask questions because the smart people are smart enough to actually ask the question. So don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how we learn. Again, thank you very much for being here. My name is Robert Farrell, your humble Adobe guru, master instructor, and I say that with great pride. Have a great day. Do something nice for somebody today, because I just did something nice for you. Carpe Diem 2013.